Hello you guys, welcome back to the channel and another reptile video. Last time you saw me walking along here in one of the videos with the dogs and the wife, I was here with a bag and some gloves to collect some dried beech leaves before they disappear for spring, to give the snakes some enrichment, but also to set out their enclosures in a more naturalistic way. My snakes traditionally have been part of Reptile Exotics, my school educational business, and to be honest, they've been kept in really healthy conditions, stress-free conditions, but quite minimalist really, so I can get them in and out easily and so on and so forth, give them a bit more room. But nowadays I've really started going down the road of I really want these enclosures to look more naturalistic, look nicer, as more naturalistic as possible. There's still functionality for me that I can get the snakes out without like destroying their habitat every time, but also, yeah, when you see those snakes poking around in some leaf litter, exploring the new bits of wood and things, they're not intelligent animals. We can't anthropomorphise. Snakes aren't humans in a long skinny body with no legs. They're just not. If that's what you like to think they are, that's up to you and that's fine. But they're really not. They're really not those animals. But for sure, they're sensory animals. Wouldn't have any minnows in there in the spring. They're sensory animals. And it is nice seeing them explore, and partly when you give them naturalistic enclosures, you actually give them more floor area or more climbing area, more surface area, more space in a way in their enclosures. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the space side of things very briefly, because we've touched on that before, how we can increase floor space for your snakes and other reptiles, but also show you a little bit more what we're doing on that more naturalistic setup. It's a bit windy. I hope the wind noise hasn't ruined the intro. I'll see you in a minute. Even for hatchlings that have grown on a little bit of substrate, but always be careful, because hatchlings can actually swallow chips like this and never be able to pass it and die. So if you are going to use a coir husk for small snakes and not a coir peat, a little feeding station does help. Somewhere to hide. Comment below if you can remember or know what species of snake that is. But again, a little bit of... Now I'm going to not squash the snake. Hold on, guys. That way. Look at that. What an unusual snake that is. So even that, it's a little bit more than just a bit of paper and a toilet roll. Nothing wrong with that when you've got lots and lots of hatchlings, if that's how you want to do it, of course not. But just a bit more interesting, and they do like to burrow into this coir. Goodbye for now. So something like the Vietnamese Blue Beauty enclosures are pretty much there. I think that dappled understory effect, and a decent sized wide enclosure, leaf litter, real rainforest floor effect, dark hide box full of slightly damp coir, so a damp hide box there. Plastic plants, because they are so big and sort of, yeah, they climb on everything. You'd need a huge area the size of a room, I think, with fully grown Vietnamese Blue Beauties to have it fully planted, because in an area they can access everything. I think their climbing abilities will damage it more than even the mangrove snake. A pleasure on the eye. And you can see these snakes are loving this natural type behaviour where they can just hang out under the lighting or in the shady areas. They certainly use that hide box an awful lot too. So the crested gecko enclosure. Oh, so much background noise today. It's driving me insane. Crested gecko enclosure. Again, lots of leaf litter, moss, pothos plants growing. But simple for me to take those guys out, if needs be, for an educational talk. So basic, but still much nicer to look at than absolutely basic. And nicer for those geckos. She wriggles around in there when she's laying eggs and so on and so forth. I don't cultivate the eggs. Now and again they'll hatch on their own. They won't get eaten in time and I'll see one and remove the baby. So in here, Pueblo milk snake, one of them. Again, this leaflet is really, I'm loving it. Onto that coir compost, plants planted directly into the substrate. So the substrate's slightly damp. Things like milk snakes love to burrow, and you've got bioactivity with the plants and the damp substrate straight off the bat. I'm still thinking of adding some critters in there, some of the larger woodlice, to see if they're possibly going to clean up any quicker. But of course, if something's eating poo, snake poo, it's still producing a huge volume of poo, just microscopically smaller poos. Still a lot of them. You know that if you keep a fish tank with cherry shrimps scavenge everything. But my goodness me, they do a lot of poo. And of course, yes, that's broke it down easier for the plants and fungi and maybe springtails and things to eat. So next door are having their property re-roofed. I've decided to make the video. We'll carry on, but excuse that constant clattering, which is actually tiles flying off a roof into a skip. So here, background, just made a cork back, leaned up there. Nothing special, nothing extravagant, but a really nice environment for a Pueblo milk snake, and semi-bioactive there. Very rarely spot clean or anything in this enclosure. So a big pair of yellowtail crebos in here. She's absolutely ready to pop, and she's just going in to her pre-lay shed. See what happens this year. So it can't be too cluttered. They want plenty of room, but they also want that security. So this works well. We've got a big hollow log here. Basking area right behind, a nice tight corner, which they like. They're quite shy crebos, the yellowtails actually, compared to some of the others. And look up here. We've got a secluded, rather dirty, a secluded shelf here. And another, their favourite corner is this cooler, dark corner. A bit of cork back. So it still looks nice for us. They've got climbing. Anything for climbing. Any form of shelf. Snakes like shelves that are snug or hidden. They don't just want a big open shelf. Believe you me, they'll hardly use that. But shelf areas, climbing areas, you're massively increasing the surface area. There's much more surface for the snakes to move around on. And it looks certainly a lot nicer on the eye than just a big plastic tray with some newspaper in the bottom and a water bowl. And it's got to be nicer, surely, for these guys, don't you start, for these guys to move around in. Oh, let's hope they're going in that lorry. This one would look nice with a decent background on it, but to be honest, it's been work in progress, and I'm really pleased with how it's come out. And I'll certainly be more pleased. I've had to open half so you can see, but I'd certainly be more pleased when all these plants have really grown up. But we've put more planting ideas in here now. Bit of heat up there, so something a bit tougher here. And again, the beech leaves, it just sets it off and gives them something to forage around in. Not very naturalistic hanging baskets, but it gives those plants a chance to grow up and down. Mangrove snake enclosure, definitely a bit of a tick for sure. I'm happy with that, and it's my centerpiece in the reptile room. Not bad at all, really. And the snake at night loves exploring that entire area, and all of this, of course, gives it plenty of places to move around in and hide in. Climb up, massively extending the surface area compared to just a rectangular box, if you like. Something we've mentioned before is extending the size of your enclosure without huge custom builds. Simply join two together and cut through. But what I didn't mention, which is handy with the bull snakes, is you can actually put a sliding divider here to split those snakes up now and again, or indeed if you've got something that's got a real food drive and you want to clean out half, you can cover that off, slide a door across and keep the snake in one half at a time. But just simply joining two together and cutting through gives you a really good idea and a way of extending the actual size of your enclosures. Here we've got black-headed pythons. In here we've got the Brazilian rainbows, and we can do much more work in here on the background there, but for now, leaf litter, coir compost, water bowl, hiding places, lots to do, lots of nooks and crannies, substrate they can get under, but a wooden vivarium doesn't take well if it gets damp, certainly chipboard. So a damp coir hide box with an entrance hole to give them that moisture content. Certainly the rainbow boas really thrive in that kind of environment. Ours have been in a glass enclosure with a damp substrate. We've upgraded but this certainly helps. So here we are, the perfect kind of shelf. A shelf you can get your hand in and clean. And this, just like how sparkly it is. Got a bit of bling in there. Hello. No, I'm not edible, don't you dare. Oh, you're out of focus. So here we are, a shelf that really does work well because it's tight enough. They need that space to feel tight. Massively increasing the floor space. Come on, phone. In this enclosure, plenty to climb. Leaf litter again, I'm loving it. It's really, these snakes are really enjoying it. Plenty of space and a heated hide box. And then that floor space is really increased by a decent shelf that the snakes will use. If they won't use it, it's a waste of time. This snake now moves around much more. It's not just moving from A to B, warm to cool. It's moving and exploring from a hide it really likes, but also to a hide it'll warm up in when it feels like that extra bit of warmth is needed. Super dwarf, golden child retic albino. Just a simple upgrade, still very Spartan and white, but a simple upgrade that's really made it look better. And I can tell you now, whether they enjoy stuff, but this snake is definitely enjoying using all of this. It's indeed all of this enclosure. It loves that shelf a lot. Again, you've seen them before, but this would look so much better with a naturalistic background. But for now, the shelf, these snakes adore this shelf. But look, this is spacious. But being arboreal snakes, they don't feel such a need to be wedged in somewhere tight as a hide. They're just up there because they're semi-arboreal. And it's possibly a little bit warmer up there, although they've got a good sort of basking area here. But this shelf massively again extends their floor space, and they really, really love it indeed. They are messy snakes though, I can really tell you that much. Baron's racers. If you haven't got one, get yourself a Baron's racer or 3. Messy, but fantastically inquisitive personalities. Really, really old vivarium, but look at this. Simple but effective. Lots of floor space. It's got to come down here to drink. Slightly warm hot spot underneath a very simple cover or hide. Lots of mess going on up here in the form of clutter, which the snakes really like. And in here somewhere is a quite large black-tailed crebo. Look at this, it's just a 2-foot viv, a very old 2-foot viv, but this false floor and a hole here, that gives you so much more. It's now an 8-foot to be 4-foot viv floor space, but of course it looks boring, and this is one of those ones we will get to, like the next one. So the best snake in the collection when it comes to rarity and that kind of thing. No, it's hidden away. Oh, there we are. Look at this. Look at this. An Eastern indigo snake. But come on, we can do so much better. So much better. Ignore this. It's not in use. Don't panic. I've robbed the guard. We could do so much better. Damp hide box. Covered basically. Something to do. But we've got a background build to do in here that's going to have some ledges built in. And I just think if we cover all 3 sides with a naturalistic background, what a different environment it's going to look like. The best snake in the collection, a dream snake for many. Look at the watermarks on there. Just an old vivarium. Nothing wrong with it being old. Nothing wrong with how it is. Perfect conditions for this snake to live in healthily, stress-free. But won't it look better if it was properly scaped? A fitting enclosure for a young Eastern indigo snake. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about we can keep these animals very stress-free, healthy, happy, long-lived, they'll breed in very basic enclosures. No lighting. It works fine for so many snakes. There's probably no need to change that. If you've got rack systems, simplistic setups for ease of use and keeping those snakes healthy and stress-free, there's probably no need to change that if it suits you. They're not humans in a skinny body with no legs. But don't you think if your reptiles are on display, we could do so much better and have these enclosures really something to look at? And of course, shelves up here on a background the snake can use. Again, massively increasing the floor space and massively increasing the aesthetic look for a snake that people would lose their right arm for. It's in a box with the basic essentials, and we definitely need to work to change all of the enclosures here to some of those beautiful ones that you've seen that look so much nicer. Set these things off, show off these beautiful things. I've got a really nice van. It's filthy at the moment. It doesn't do it justice. It doesn't make any difference to the van, how it feels. It doesn't make any difference to how the van works. But a nice van, it's cleaned and polished. It's so much nicer to behold. Whether the snake cares or not, a fully landscaped, usable vivarium is what we're heading for. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been hard work, lots of background noise, lots of messing around on the edit for the volume, but I hope it gives you food for thought. We're talking cheap, free, easy to do stuff that'll completely transform, literally, how you view your snakes. Subscribe, enjoy, help us out on this channel, comment below, and we'll see you in the next one.